In the 3 years after Luzon's breakup, I accompanied him every step of the way. I thought that even a stone should have been warmed by then. During these 3 years, we didn't do anything intimate, but we were the closest people to each other. Luzon didn't have a new girlfriend either. So in the 3rd year, I gathered the courage to confess my love to him. But before he could answer, he received a call from his ex-girlfriend and then left without looking back. It is only now that I have come to understand. He refrained from falling in love again in these 3 years merely because he was still hung up on Xianxia. This year's birthday was still spent with Luzon, outdoors at a couple's restaurant, a specially ordered couple's meal. The romantic ambience all highlighted the gentleness of Luzon's smiling face. Luzon saw through my little secret, but he indulged it, which might also be a kind of tacit agreement. A love-themed dessert was served as the final dish, and Luzon gave me a beautifully packaged gift box. It was an instant camera that I had long wanted, but hadn't been able to get my hands on for almost half a year since the pre-sale started. I don't know how Luzon found such a brand new one. The pure black metal body emitted a soft gloss under the dim warm light, and I couldn't help but press the power button. Luzon's sculpted face appeared in the viewfinder. He was facing the camera. The blurry light behind him formed a starry background, and his eyes seemed to be filled with starlight. Somehow, I pressed the shutter to capture this moment. My happy curve couldn't be hidden anymore. The mood was just right. Everything felt natural. I wanted to ask Luzon. It's been 3 years since the end of the last relationship. Do you want to start another one? Do you want to consider me? Just at this inappropriate time, Luzon's phone rang, and I couldn't get that answer. A woman's voice leaked from the phone receiver. Luzon seemed to glance at me subconsciously, then stood up and walked to the edge of the fence to talk on the phone. He held the phone in one hand and ran his fingers through his hair with the other, which was his subconscious action when he was anxious. After a short while, Luzon came back, casually picked up the jacket on the back of the chair and said, "Shuyi, something urgent came up. I need to go to the hospital immediately." Luzon is a cardiologist and emergency situations often arise at the hospital, so I didn't think much of it. "Then you go quickly. I can go back by myself." I tried to get up, but a sudden pain in my abdomen stopped me. "Then be careful when you go back." Luzon didn't notice my abnormality. He left quickly with his jacket. I thought it was due to eating something bad, but the abdominal pain gradually worsened that night. I began to run a fever and feel nauseous. I finally realized something was wrong. The first person that came to mind was Luzon, so I called him. Perhaps he was still busy. No one answered Luzon's phone. Biting my teeth, bending over and pressing on my stomach, I barely managed to walk to the gate of my community and got into a taxi. Arriving at the hospital emergency room, I tried to call Luzon again, but this time the prompt said it was turned off. Luzon's phone is usually on 24 hours a day. This has never happened, and it made me feel uneasy. Mental tension and physical pain almost made me collapse. I started sliding down against the wall. "Are you okay?" A voice full of concern sounded from the side, and then a pair of powerful hands pulled me up. I looked up, and it was a stranger's face. He was wearing a mask, so I could only see the clear eyes under the light-colored glasses. Song Yuyan later talked about the first time he met me. He had just finished an emergency operation and was slightly relaxed. When he returned to his clinic, he was shocked to see me, white as a sheet and drenched in cold sweat. Knowing that I had no accompanying relatives, Song Yuyan embodied the spirit of humanitarianism, borrowed a wheelchair, and took me for tests. The final diagnosis was acute appendicitis, which required immediate surgery. More dreadful than being ill alone was having surgery alone. My hand trembled as I signed on the consent form. "Are you sure there's no one to accompany you?" Song Yuyan's thick brows knitted together as he confirmed with me again. My parents were in another city, and there were no friends that I could bother in the middle of the night. I bit my lip, thought for a moment, and finally dialed that number. Still off, I was overwhelmed by unease. What if something had happened to Luzon? And at present, I could not even take care of myself. On the way to the operation room, I subconsciously clutched the hem of Song Yuyan's clothes. The feeling of not being in control of one's own body was nerve-wracking. And this young doctor, though a stranger, radiated a kindness that felt like a source of water encountered by a weary traveler in the desert. Song Yuyan looked at my hand, which turned white due to the force of my grip. A bit stunned. During work, he always had his guard up, focused and reserved, not given to bouts of laughter. Just as I felt regret for overstepping my boundaries and was about to withdraw my hand, Song Yuyan gently patted my hand. "Don't worry, I'm here." His voice, imbued with the magnetic quality unique to young people, wasn't deep but enough to soothe. "Don't worry, I'm here." Lying on the operation table, before falling into a sleepy state, Song Yuyan said this to me again, with the shadowless lamp behind him. His figure seemed unconventionally tall. After the anesthesia wore off, I vaguely felt the presence of several people in the room and faintly heard their conversation. If we were any later, the appendix would have perforated. That would have been a real problem. What a close call. "Yuyan, we owe you one for this." "Thank you, old Lu. Why are you being so polite? This is part of my duty. Plus, I didn't originally know she was your friend." "Old Lu?" Luzon, with a start. I opened my eyes. It was already early the next morning. The glaring light instantly made me squint. The first to notice I was awake was Xiaxia. Wait a minute. Didn't she leave for overseas 3 years ago? Why was she here? "I'm sorry, Shu Yi, for only coming to see you now. I had a fever last night. It was nothing serious. Just needed An4. But Luzon insisted on staying with me." Xiaxia covered her mouth for a small cough. She glanced at Luzon's side with a hint of coquettishness. Luzon cleared his throat somewhat unnaturally and said to me, "At first, I wasn't bothered. But then, my phone battery died." His dark circles were apparent. He clearly hadn't slept last night, staying with Xiaxia instead. Luzon came closer and leaned over slightly in front of my bed. His tone soft. "Are you feeling better now? What's going on?" Was this out of friendly concern? Yet, there was something about the way he looked at me that was hard to misinterpret. I even wanted to remind him that Xiaxia was still there. She was standing behind Luzon, slightly pale, but her radiant beauty still shone through, looking somewhat pitiful. Emotions are hard to control when you are feeling weak. I could only turn my face to look out of the window. The hand under the blanket was clawing the sheet. The slightest blink, and tears would threaten to spill. I didn't know when Xiaxia came back. When I was worried about what might have happened to Luzon, he'd spent the whole night with Xiaxia. No wonder he looked so anxious when he picked up her call. I should have known. Only Xiaxia could make him this nervous. So, were they planning to get back together? But what right and position do I have to question? I'm glad I didn't get to ask that question last night. That would have been too embarrassing. "I heard your phone ringing this morning, and saw that it was old Lu. And since I figured the two of you knew each other, I notified him." In the awkward silence, Song Yuyan broke the ice. Only then did I notice Song Yuyan standing by. Had his mask off, his eyebrows clear and handsome, looking even younger than I imagined. "Thank you," I said to him sincerely. Luzon wanted to say something, but Song Yuyan pushed him out of the ward. "The patient needs rest now. You guys should leave." Luzon had no choice but to comply. Before leaving, he patted Song Yuyan on the shoulder. A familiar gesture. "Yuyan, take care of Shuyi during this time." Of course, Song Yuyan quickly responded, already busy pushing the visitors out of the ward. He turned around and glanced in my direction, sighed, shook his head, and then closed the ward door. I should be thankful for his sense of boundary, leaving me alone, so that I could keep my vulnerability to myself. Luzon introduced me to others as his friend. Perhaps these 2 words were the most accurate description of our relationship. I was someone with an unwilling heart. I first met Luzon when I was 13. After my mom divorced my dad, she brought me back to Yucheng. She took me to see her best friend, and asked me to call her Aunt Jo. While Aunt Jo and my mom were chatting, I huddled in the corner reading a book, the cicadas outside the window, and the rhythmic clatter of the fan blades woven into a lullaby. I leaned back in my chair and fell into a deep sleep. It seemed as if someone was passing by me, bringing a cool breeze. "Whose child is this?" A young boy's hoarse voice. My book fell from my hand, and I was startled awake to find a tall, skinny boy standing in front of me. He probably just came back from a game, wearing a jersey, and his cheeks were continuously dripping with sweat, some of which fell onto the wooden floor. "Yo, did I wake you up?" The boy handed me a popsicle. "Want a popsicle?" The changes in my family and the unfamiliar environment made me a little nervous. Moreover, I clearly saw him about to put that popsicle into his mouth just now. I looked at him timidly, puckered my lips, and shook my head. "Here, it's uneaten. Don't worry." He moved the popsicle closer to me again. If I refused again, it would seem like I was rejecting him, so I reached out and carefully took it. The boy smiled at me. His skin was tanned from the sun, making his teeth appear particularly white. His smile was bright, just like the morning breeze. The taste of the popsicle has become blurred in the distant years, but I will never forget that cool feeling, sweeping away the heat. Later at the dinner table, I learned that the young man who was 3 years older than me was called Luzon. Aunt Jo specifically told him, "From now on, Shu Yi will be in the same school as you. You have to treat her like a sister and take care of her." Luzon agreed readily and truly fulfilled his promise. At the beginning of my transfer, I couldn't fit into the new environment for a while. I was isolated and bullied. It was Luzon who stood up for me. When I sprained my ankle in PE class, it was Luzon who carried me home. On rainy days, it was Luzon who waited at the classroom door to give me an umbrella. Over the years, I had grown accustomed to the presence of Luzon, naively believing that it could go on forever like this. It wasn't until the summer vacation of Luzon's sophomore year that he said he wanted to introduce me to someone. At the bustling train station, I met Xianxia for the first time. She waved to us from across the crowd, tall and slender, with a bright smile. Luzon said Xianxia was his college friend who came to visit, but anyone could see they were more than just friends. The three of us had meals together, watched movies together. Under the table, he and Xianxia firmly held each other's hands, and in the dark cinema, they passionately kissed each other. Luzon introduced me to Xianxia as the girl next door, but I wished he had forgotten about me and went to meet her alone. In those dates, I was clearly the third wheel, so superfluous that I felt out of place, only able to chew on popcorn vacantly, staring at the big screen. The movie was about a girl's adolescent crush, which did not end happily, and I was the only one who took the movie seriously. I didn't dare make a sound, for fear of disturbing the other two, and also afraid of revealing my unsettled heart. Xianxia was Luzon's first love, and I saw how people changed foolishly when they fell in love. He would burst into laughter while explaining things to me, and would leave the dinner table to talk on the phone on the balcony for an hour, without caring about the elders present. The summer vacation was too long, and Luzon couldn't resist missing Xianxia and went to her city. Without me this time, I imagined them dating and holding hands in another city, kissing each other reluctantly in the dense summer shade. And then I finally realized, Luzon belongs to Xianxia. They belong to each other. One day, Luzon would gradually distance himself from me. We couldn't keep the way we were when we were children. I still played the role of the girl next door in Luzon's life, but I had no reason to bother him too much anymore, only occasionally saying hello and meeting at meals during the holidays. Occasionally, I would see Xianxia at the get-togethers, and Luzon would generously introduce her as his girlfriend. Their relationship was stable, and if nothing went wrong, they would continue to be together, then marry and have children. But something happened 3 years ago. Xianxia decided to go abroad, and Luzon insisted on staying in his hometown. Neither of them was willing to compromise for each other, so they broke up. Luzon went through a period of loss. I felt sorry for him, but I didn't regret for him. The breakup only meant that they weren't suitable for each other in the end. And Luzon, of course, would find someone more suitable. There was a vacant spot beside him, and I boldly took a step forward. All these years, I was the one always by his side. We never did intimate things, but we were the closest to each other. Luzon never found a new girlfriend. I didn't understand until now. It was because he had not let go of Xiaosu. During the time I was hospitalized, Luzon visited me every day, sometimes alone, sometimes accompanied by Xiaosu. Xiaosu was still on an intravenous drip. Undoubtedly, Luzon stayed with her every day. Song Yuyan really took great care of me. In order to aid my recovery, he would help me walk around the small garden on good weather days. He mentioned that Luzon was his classmate and roommate from his college years. And since I was a friend of Luzon's, I needn't treat him as a stranger. His gaze wasn't too deep. Under the sunlight, it appeared closer to light brown, seeming as if it could encompass everything. Even though we were not that familiar with each other, it was hard for me to feel distanced from him. I was even willing to share my inner thoughts with him. It was hard to talk about emotional experiences, but they would still seep through conversations. Song Yuyan would never voice any opinions, but you could tell that he was listening intently. I work at a psychiatric hospital, and resumed work pretty soon after my discharge. Xiaosu was the first one to visit me. She had booked a consultation with me at the psychological clinic as a patient, which quite surprised me. She looked a little pale and exhausted, having just recovered from a minor illness. Foregoing all formalities, she directly started talking about how she didn't have an easy time abroad over the past few years. "I'm still suffering from insomnia and need to rely on medication to sleep," she said. "Modern people have more or less some psychological issues. So I thought she was just here to seek psychological counseling." Xiaosu seemed to struggle to recall. "I didn't have someone reliable around me back then. I often wished that Luzon could be there with me, or that I could decide to stay with him. Later, I regretted my decision every single day. It still had to do with Luzon. Every time he was mentioned, I found it hard to help her analyze the situation from a professional standpoint. But considering the situation at his home back then, his mother, you should know about it. But I stubbornly wanted to try, wanted to understand my place in his heart," she tearfully revealed, with her hand covering her face. Xiaosu looked hurt and aggrieved. "Later I paid the price for my willfulness. I made the wrong choice. I like painting and I want to achieve something in this field. In retrospect, it wouldn't matter where I did this. I should have chosen to stay with him," she murmured at last. Xiaosu quieted down, sinking into the soft leather couch, looking frail and helpless. I fiddled with the pen in my hand, not sure whether to give advice as a doctor or try to comfort her as a friend. In the end, I couldn't find even a single word to say. My professionalism completely disarmed. I couldn't tell her about those dark days Luzon had gone through after she left. When not at work, he would shut himself inside his house, rejecting all social contact. I asked Aunt Jo for a spare key, forcibly entered his house, cleaned up for him, cooked for him, and dragged him out for some recreation. And I couldn't comfort her in good grace that, "Look, even though such a long time has passed, Luzon still cares about you." After a while, Xiaosu seemed to have figured something out. She stood up, straightened her clothes, grabbed her purse, and seemed ready to leave. "I'm back, and I'm going to fight for it. There may be a chance between Luzon and me." She looked at me, her eyes gleaming with determination. "Shu Yi, don't you agree?" Xiaosu directly asked me for my opinion. I could only nod weakly. Perhaps, maybe. After escorting her out of the consulting room, I suggested to her that if her insomnia was severe, she should seek intervention as soon as possible. If needed, I could refer her to an expert in this field. Luzon said the same thing to me as well. Maybe he can accompany me for treatment. Xiaosu smiled her proper and gracious smile. "Thank you, Shu Yi." I had not been in contact with Luzon for a long time, let alone met him. I deliberately distanced myself from him, tactfully avoiding suspicious conjectures. "Luzon, who rarely took the initiative to find me, is perhaps now busy with rectifying his relationship with Xiaosu and wouldn't think of me anymore. Looking back over the past 3 years, I was always the one taking the initiative, reaching out, meeting him, babbling about things I like, things I dislike in front of him. I almost confessed my feelings to him. With less initiative on my part, our relationship naturally cooled off. Song Yuyang often communicates with me, meets me every now and then. We eat together, walk, watch movies, and discover many shared interests. It appeared out of habit that I was always the one being taken care of. With our doctor-patient relationship ended, our interactions became more natural and comfortable. We talked about a movie that I had wanted to watch a long time ago, but could not find clear resources online. Fortunately, Song Yuyang had a Blu-ray disc that he had treasured for many years, and so we decided to watch it together at my place. We went shopping for groceries and cooked together. Song Yuyang in a gray sweater and a cartoon apron, frying vegetables in a narrow kitchen, oddly didn't seem out of place. A simple meal of 2 dishes and a soup spread out on the table felt heartwarmingly nostalgic for someone like me, who usually survives on canteen food and takeouts. Sometime during the meal, Song Yuyang answered a phone call. He told me that relatives from his hometown have always been trying to introduce him to potential partners, but I refused. I told them I already have someone I like. Setting his phone aside, Song Yuyang offhandedly mentioned this, but it was hard for me to ignore his gaze, fleeting as it was, but fervently intense. Pretending to focus on my food, I could not respond to the warmth in his eyes. Thankfully, the topic was quickly changed by Song Yuyang, and the atmosphere once again gave way to easygoing casualness. After dinner, we comfortably leaned against the sofa. Despite having watched the movie several times, Song Yuyang stared attentively at the screen. From the side, he had a pronounced Adam's apple, a distinct jawline, and the light dancing in his glassed eyes. There was a faint smell on him, like the lingering scent of pine burning, which feels warm in the winter night. Such languid and casual moments are best enjoyed without agonizing over what relationship we have. Just consider it as having someone to keep you company in the city, without discussing feelings. It's quite nice. By the time the movie ended, it was almost midnight. I sent Song Yuyang to the ground floor, with only a light coat on. The chill of the winter night made me unconsciously shrug my neck. Song Yuyang removed his scarf and wrapped it around my neck. I'll be going upstairs immediately. It's better if you keep it. Even though I said that, I did not make a move to return the scarf. The warmth it offered was just too comforting. I'm pretty energetic. The cold wind will help me cool off. As Song Yuyang headed towards the parking lot, he turned back and waved at me casually. His tall figure quickly disappeared into the night. I returned upstairs, still contemplating the meaning behind Song Yuyang's words. Suddenly, a figure appeared out of the darkness, grabbing my arm. I screamed in shock, only calming down when I recognized Lu Zon's face. Lu Zon pulled me in front of him, grasping my shoulders. His expression was disconcerting. I originally came to see you today, but I saw you and Song Yuyang entering the building with shopping bags. I waited downstairs. I just wanted to see when he'd leave. Lu Zon gnashed his teeth. I almost suspected that he wouldn't leave tonight. But what does that have to do with you? I glanced at Lu Zon in bewilderment. The cold wind was seeping into my thin jacket, causing me to shiver. Pointing in the direction where Song Yuyang had walked off to, Lu Zon said, "You were alone. How could you allow him to stay over this late?" "Lu, what do you mean by that?" Perhaps due to my earlier scream, Song Yuyang had returned. He stood in front of me, knocking Lu Zon's hand away. Their heights were comparable, allowing Song Yuyang to look him in the eye. "I asked you before. You said you and Shu Yi were just friends. What right do you have to intervene? There's no logic to that. Lu, if she and I are indeed dating, it has nothing to do with you." For a moment, Lu Zon was rendered speechless. Song Yuyang, arguing in a righteous manner, continued, "If you have other intentions, ask Shu Yi if she agrees first. Then clear up things with your first love. I promise to stay far, far away, and won't trouble you again." Luzon's chest heaved, failing to find a rebuttal. He shot Song Yuyang a glance and stormed off to his car, slamming the door angrily and drove away. "I am really sorry for tonight." I tried to force a smile, but failed miserably. Yuyang still faced away from me and did not turn around. He let out a sigh. "It's not you who needs to apologize," he said. In the days after that, I ran into Luzon, who was accompanying Xiaosu to see a doctor. They approached me, Xiaosu enthusiastically greeting me. Despite her tall stature, she appeared delicate and dependent while around Luzon, as if absorbed in whatever Xiaosu was saying. Luzon was originally standing at a slight angle towards her. Upon noticing me, his expression turned serious. He seemed to want to say something to me but ultimately kept quiet, possibly due to Xiaosu's presence. Afterwards, I would often see traces of Luzon in Xiaosu's social media posts. Sometimes it would be a hand revealed during dinner, sometimes a silhouette on a street, or a side profile at a desk. The photos never showed his full face, but those familiar with him could easily identify him. In her own subtle way, Xiaosu was expressing her happiness and sweetness. Oddly enough, though I wasn't even in a relationship, I felt as if I had just gone through a breakup. Song Yuyan, not liking my despondent demeanor, found a time when we all had a break and dragged me on a mountain hike. In a pocket of my backpack, I found a card camera given to me by Luzon. Holding it now, the feel was still the same, but the initial excitement was long gone. I took a lot of scenic photos along the way. On a flat plateau halfway up the mountain, Song Yuyan suggested we rest for a bit. As I looked through the photos, their clarity and full color did not meet my expectations. Disinterested, I deleted each unsatisfactory photo one by one. Once I was so yearning for this camera, perhaps because it was hard to get. The day it finally became mine, the charm faded, and it turned into disappointment at last. Deleting until the last photo, my fingers paused on the delete key. On the screen appeared Luzon's face. I didn't know whether he was looking at the camera lens or the person behind the lens. Me. His smile was warm, eyes as gentle as the stars. "What are you looking at? You're so spaced out." Song Yuyan pressed a bottle of mineral water against my face, its cold temperature jolting me back to reality. I took the mineral water, ignoring Song Yuyan's triumphant laugh, and shut off the camera before packing it away. Song Yuyan must have seen that photo, but he said nothing. The steps on the lower half of the mountain were obviously steeper than before, and I struggled to climb, touching the tip of my nose. A thin layer of sweat had formed. Compared to me, Song Yuyan's breath was steady. He climbed as if on level ground. "Look at you. It's because you don't usually exercise. You should come out more in the future," he said. Whether it was well-meaning advice or ruthless mockery, I glanced sideways at him and continued up the mountain. Ahead of me by a few steps, Song Yuyan turned around and extended his hand towards me. "Let me walk the rest of the way with you," he said. The setting sun painted the calm mountain behind him red. The words Song Yuyan spoke seemed unusually formal. It made one think he was referring not only to the mountain road. With his broad and warm palm open in front of me, I could feel its temperature the moment I placed my hand in it. The rest of the journey could be less tiring this way. Without much hesitation, I instead slapped Song Yuyan's palm away quickly. "I can make it on my own." He looked at his palm and laughed helplessly. That day was a rare sunny winter day. We climbed to the top of the mountain shoulder by shoulder, the setting sun yet to disappear below the horizon. The fresh air filled our lungs, and the vast scenery somehow lightened our moods. An unexpected incident occurred on the eve of the new year. After work, I ran into a patient suffering from schizophrenia in the lobby. He had been hospitalized for a while and had been discharged after his condition improved. He greeted me with a smile. "Dr. Shu, are you off work?" "Yes." "You seem to be in a good mood. Is there anything uncomfortable recently?" He seemed so normal that I let down my guard, approached him, and greeted him like an old friend. But suddenly his expression changed, and his eyes widened. "It's all you guys. trying to harm me, chase me, and imprison me. As he spoke, he pulled out a stick from behind and raised it high. Just like slow motion playback, I saw that the stick was getting closer and closer to me, and it was about to hit my forehead. But my body couldn't react in time. In the blink of an eye, a strong force pushed me away. Then I heard a groan in my ear. Song Yuyan leaned painfully on my shoulder, taking a while to recover, and gasped for breath through his teeth. The patient came back to his senses, stood there with the stick, at a loss. The nearby security rushed over to subdue him. Song Yuyan was just waiting for me to get off work. Because of this farce, his scapula was broken and he needs to rest at home for over a month. Everything started because of me. Unequivocally, whenever I had free time, I would go to his place to take care of his daily life. On New Year's Eve, my mom and her current husband came from out of town to celebrate Spring Festival with me. Aunt Jo invited us to have the New Year's Eve dinner together. When I was in college, Uncle Lou suddenly proposed a divorce to Aunt Jo, even though they had accompanied each other for most of their lives. They didn't want to compromise for the remaining time. Uncle Lou admitted that he had met someone who made his heart flutter and was willing to break up the marriage. Aunt Jo cried and tried to keep him, but she couldn't possibly make a person change their heart. Once the kind and smiling Aunt Jo seemed like a different person. She suffered from depression. It got so severe that she tried to commit suicide. Luckily, Luzon found her in time. So 3 years ago, Luzon couldn't possibly leave with Xiaosu. Aunt Jo needed someone to take care of her. Luzon couldn't leave. These years, Aunt Jo has visibly lost weight, but fortunately, after careful treatment, her mental state is okay. The conversation at the dinner table inevitably again touched upon the subject of marriage and love concerning the young people. Aunt Jo put some vegetables in my bowl and then looked at Luzon with a friendly smile. Auntie saw what Shui thought of Azan since she was little. She helped me tuck the long hair hanging in front of my chest onto my shoulder. Since both of you don't have partners, why not try dating? It caught me by surprise, and I choked on a mouthful of food. My face immediately flushed. I looked at Luzon, thinking he would clarify something, but he was only focused on eating and completely disregarding us. Look at you. You're so old and suddenly learned to be shy. Aunt Jo laughed and said, I realized a long time ago that Azan and Xiaosu wouldn't last. Aunt Jo wanted to continue, but Luzon finally looked at us, his face somber. He still didn't say anything. Instead, he just handed me 2 napkins. I finally started coughing with a napkin over my mouth, which also interrupted Aunt Jo in time. After dinner, I stepped out onto the balcony for a breath of fresh air. Last time I saw you, Yan, he told me that you've been the one taking care of him all this time. Luzon walked up behind me, his coat draped over my shoulders. I tried to shrug it off, but was unable to. I had to yield to him. He did get hurt because of you, but you didn't need to take care of him personally. You could have just hired a nurse for him. I found Luzon's casual tone amusing. Didn't you do the same when Xiaosu was sick? Sticking to her side unceasingly, Luzon paused for a moment, then smiled at the corner of his mouth. So Shuyi, are you still jealous? I used to be so in love with Luzon's smile that was somewhere between dashing and mischievous, but now I only felt speechless, not knowing how to break through his assumptions. Xiaosu and I used to be together. Even if the feelings are now gone, we can't completely abandon each other. She wanted to reconcile, but I found that I no longer have those feelings for her. She's having an exhibition here, all alone and a little out of sorts. Once this period is over, I'll speak clearly with her. Looking at Luzon's serious face, I didn't know why he was explaining all this to me. To him right now, Xiaosu was a responsibility he couldn't shirk. But what if his feelings for Xiaosu were the same as before? Would he consider rekindling that relationship? If Luzon and Xiaosu hadn't broken up 3 years ago, would they still be together now? If Xiaosu didn't make that phone call that night, would Luzon have accepted my confession? But there are no ifs in life. Things have changed over time, and no one can go back to the past. But, after all, whether it was in the past or now. Luzon never prioritized me first. Fireworks in the distance suddenly illuminated the night sky, gorgeous yet brief. Midnight was approaching and this year was about to pass. People were eager for the arrival of the new year. As I gazed at the night sky, I suddenly came to my senses. But why did you tell me all this? It seems that no matter how things turn out between you and Xiaosu, it won't matter much to me. Luzon sighed, thinking that I was just blowing off steam. Do you remember why you chose psychiatry? Because of my mother. She was deep depressed back then. So you said that you chose this major so that you could provide treatment for her in the future. He recalled the past. Every holiday thereafter, you visited my house to chat and advise my mom. Her current emotional state has much to do with you. After graduation, you insisted on not going to live with your mother but chose to stay in U City. Isn't it because of me? Luzon saying all this made me see the me from the past, which made me feel melancholic. I see. You understood all along, but you never responded to me all these years. Weren't we good as we were? Can romantic relationships last? We have a lot of failed examples, your mom and dad, Mark and Judy, and me and Xiaosu. Luzon looked somber as he uttered these words. Fireworks continued to bloom and fade quietly in the night sky. Without the initial astonishment, they ended up being boring. You're not trying to tell me that you've liked me for a long time, but didn't want to confirm our relationship, are you? I forced a smile. Is it because Song Yuyen made you feel threatened, and you couldn't bear the attention that used to be on you shift to someone else? Shu Yi, must you interpret me that way? Luzon turned to face me, appearing slightly startled. Why are you looking at me that way? As if you're observing your patient. I told Luzon that I had suddenly realized a few things. I used to think that liking someone should feel like that. Only now do I realize that two people can share interests, get along well, give and take. It doesn't always have to be one side doing all the loving on their own. Luzon found it unfathomable. You're talking about you and Yu Yan? That's impossible. How long have you known him? Do you understand him well enough? As firecrackers echoed across the sky, I didn't directly answer Luzon, choosing instead to calmly tell him, I've realized that I might not like you as much as I thought I did. I wasn't sure if Luzon had heard me clearly. He rested half his body against the balcony railing, remaining motionless for a long time. I handed his coat back to him and then turned to leave without a second look. Suddenly, I thought of Song Yuyan. On this day of family reunion, he was unable to return home due to his injury. I wondered how he was doing now. Upon reaching Song Yuyan's house, I pressed the familiar passcode and opened the door, intending to wish him Happy New Year. The difference in temperature between inside and outside made my nose sting. Song Yuyan was lying on the living room sofa, listlessly staring at the television. On the coffee table lay an empty instant noodle box, and some packaging of dry food. The lively chorus of songs coming from the TV contrasted the room's bleak emptiness. Song Yuyan, who hadn't expected my visit, pointed at the coffee table, which he hadn't had time to clean up, a bit embarrassed. The housekeeper is on vacation, and deliveries can't make it here. I just make do with what I have. Hey, why do you seem like you're about to cry? I asked. This caught Song Yuyan off guard. He attempted to sit up, but the movement made his backbone ache, and he gasped for air. I pushed him down and sat beside him on the sofa, feeling a lump in my throat. I hung my head, speechless for a while. Do you find me pitiful? I have heard a saying that when you find someone pitiful, you're close to loving them. Song Yuyan tried to cheer me up with his light-hearted tone, observing my reaction. When he noticed I still wouldn't speak, he took on a more serious demeanor. I have seen all kinds of patients over the years, and barely feel any sympathy anymore. But when I saw you that day, I suddenly found you so pitiful. I usually just tell my patients I'll try my best, but that day, confronting you, I just wanted to assure you that I am here. Then I started feeling you too were pitiful when it comes to relationships. Although it's not because of me. Song Yuyan drooped his eyelids, pretending to be aggrieved. So you see, isn't it confirmed that I have hopelessly fallen in love with you? I had never seen him like this before, and for a while, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I want you to pity me too, but I don't need your mercy. He pointed at his back injury. You don't need to feel guilty for this little injury of mine. You don't have to feel pressured. If any beautiful lady was in danger, I would have a hard time ignoring it. The TV began broadcasting the New Year countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2. The New Year was really coming, even though there's no real difference between this moment and the next. I held on to this ceremonial feeling, bearing hope for a beautiful life ahead. I looked up at Song Yuyan. Can you wait for me for a while? I wasn't sure if Song Yuyan could understand that I didn't want to use him as a means to walk out of my gloom, nor did I want to start a murky relationship. I needed to set myself straight first and then earnestly accept another person. Song Yuyan looked at me, his eyes shimmering. Sure, although I'm still young. Don't make me wait too long. After the new year, my application to study abroad was approved, meaning I would be going away for a year. Before leaving, Xianxia invited me to visit her art exhibition. I was attracted to a painting of a single eye, boldly colored. You see how it looks at you? So fervently. Xianxia stood in front of me, looking at the painting yet presumably lost in thought. I could not understand this kind of abstract art, so I didn't linger on that painting too long. Xianxia told me she would leave after the exhibition ended. When it comes to relationships, the hardest part is if two people are on different wavelengths. Once you miss out, it fades away and might have already shifted elsewhere. She looked out at the large patch of greenery outside the floor-to-ceiling window, her expression calm and composed. While away, I was immersed in my busy schedule. Song Yuyan seldom contacted me, seemingly intentionally giving me space. Luzon occasionally checked in on me on behalf of Aunt Jo or himself. The conversations never overstepped, as if I were still that girl next door. On a particular night, Luzon unexpectedly called me, probably just after a night out, his voice heavy with drunkenness. Shu Yi, if I had confirmed my relationship with you earlier, do you think you would still be by my side now? I didn't want to linger on this unresolved issue anymore. Could you give me a break? Even if we were together, Xianxia would still return. I don't want a boyfriend who cares for his ex. I can't tolerate even a flicker of wavering or hesitation. There was silence on the other end, and then Luzon's hearty laughter rang out. That's just like you, Shu Yi. After a long silence, I was about to end the call, thinking he had fallen asleep, when Luzon murmured, just a bit more. It seems I really missed it. Occasionally, I would remember the past, the most light-hearted and joyful contents, mostly related to Song Yuyan. As my study term came to an end, I was impatient to return. Upon reaching U City by high-speed rail, I looked around. Aside from Luzon, there wasn't a single familiar face. Luzon stood in front of me with arms folded, examining me with a smirk. You look so disappointed to see me. I was at a loss for words. Yuyan got a sudden emergency patient. He couldn't leave, so I had to come. Luzon took my luggage from my hands, looking a bit helpless. Let's go. I'll take you to him. Extra Chapter 1, The Photograph. It was a college reunion. After everyone had had their fill of food and drinks, someone proposed taking a group photo, and the class prefect took out his phone. Hey, I have a camera. The effect will be better with a camera. Song Yuyan held up a black card camera. Luzon's eyebrows twitched. Wasn't that the camera he had given to Shu Yi before? After the group photo was taken, everyone crowded around Song Yuyan to view the photo. Without realizing it, they flipped past the group photo. Wow, who took this picture of you? Making you look so handsome, almost to the point of vulgarity. And who's this beautiful lady in this photo? Old classmates began to make a commotion. Song Yuyan perked up his eyebrows and began self-righteously introducing his girlfriend to everyone. Meanwhile, once again boasting about their legendary story of how they met. Recently, he'd noticed Shu Yi often playing with this camera. He'd seen the photo inside the camera before. He pretended not to care, but the more he pretended, the more curious he was. Finally, he found an excuse of needing a group photo for a class reunion and asked to borrow the camera from Shu Yi. "You can use the camera, but you can't delete a single photo," Shu Yi warned him. What photo was so precious that it couldn't be deleted? Song Yuyan took the camera and started looking through it on the spot. The more he looked, the better he felt, unable to suppress a smile. All of the photos were of him wearing an apron and cooking in the kitchen, poring over books at the desk, just after a shower wearing a loose bathrobe revealing firm muscles. There were a few shots where Shu Yi had taken selfies with him while he was sound asleep. So all these times when she seemingly casually played with the camera, she was actually documenting his life. Shu Yi candidly commented, "This camera doesn't take good landscapes, but it's not bad for portraits." Who would have thought his girlfriend had potential as a photographer? But he liked it. At that moment, Luzon stood on the outer edge of the crowd, his heart aching. He had splurged on the camera from a scalper, and now it was being used to take pictures of another guy. Just like Shu Yi, although he and Song Yuyan were still buddies, the latter often showed off in front of him, shamelessly displaying their love every other day. Even the strongest heart couldn't stand this. Recalling how Song Yuyan had asked him to be the best man at his wedding a few days before, he felt a kind of lonely chill. He finally made up his mind to follow Mrs. Zhou's arrangement and start going on matchmaking dates. He just hoped that he wouldn't be choked to death by their sweet love before finding his own partner. Extra Chapter 2, Prenatal Education. After getting married, Song Yuyan feels the weight on his shoulders has become heavier, thus becoming more diligent. He took an in-service doctorate. One day, he substituted his mentor to lecture to the medical students. After class, during the Q&A session, a girl with a flushed face boldly said, "Professor Song is so handsome. I wonder if he has a girlfriend." Song Yuyan gave a slight smile. He slowly lifted his left hand, and a silver ring on his ring finger shone brilliantly. On a rare day like this, when he didn't have to perform surgery, Song Yuyan seized the opportunity to show off his wedding ring. There were sighs all over the classroom, and everyone started gossiping about how Professor Song met his wife. "So, I'd say that you should study hard now and master the skill." Song Yuyan cleared his throat and began to talk endlessly about the legendary experience that he has repeated countless times. "One could say that, on the first day I met your mentor, I performed an appendectomy on her." As soon as he finished, there were exclamations in the classroom. A girl teased, "So, we should put on some exquisite makeup when we go to the hospital. Who knows if we're going to meet handsome doctors like Professor Song?" Song Yuyan's survival instinct kicked in. Even without makeup, "Your mentor is the most beautiful in my eyes." Pleased with his perfect answer, he looked towards the back corner of the lecture hall near the window. Song Yuyan's smile gradually solidified, and his expression became incredibly tender. That most beautiful, bare-faced mentor was lying back and sleeping soundly. Her oversized coat perfectly covered her slightly bulging belly. It was Shu Yi who insisted on coming to listen. Song Yuyan was becoming busier, and Shu Yi complained that they didn't have enough time together. Coming to listen not only allows the baby to get familiar with his father's voice, but also to intake some knowledge in advance, killing two birds with one stone, possibly due to a habit formed during her studying period. She feels drowsy whenever she sees surgery, coupled with a lack of energy during pregnancy. She didn't know when she fell asleep. A ray of lazy afternoon sun sprawled on her face. At this moment, everything was peaceful and beautiful in her world.